We are back in the garage again. For all my old subscribers, well, I don't want to say old subscribers, all my family. We gained a bunch of subscribers today. I made the Mazda Man action video, and Coda Boy 32, he did a good thing, he did a bad thing. He gave me a shout out, blew my cover. So we'll deal with it. We'll deal with it when it comes, because either they're going to let me come back to the next meeting, and I'm going to prove all of Bloomberg's shit, total shit. I'm going to disprove it all, or they're not going to let me come back. I'm going to enter under a different alter ego, and I'm going to ask them why they didn't let Dave in. I mean, Dave wanted to come. His son was murdered. He wants people to be safe, right? He should be in Mazda Man action, or Dad's the Man action, or whatever action. We just have a different way of getting there. They want to take all your guns. I want everybody to have a gun. I mean, call it what it is. So I don't normally do this. Normally when I talk, I just talk, right? Because there's about 100 people that became subscribers today. Hopefully they watch this video. I know that most of you guys came from Coda Boy 32's channel. I like Coda Boy. He just won't listen. If you want the facts, he won't listen. But hopefully we get him over time and he starts seeing the truth. I have issues with some of the things he says, and I'm about to mention all those things right now. People that watch my videos are going to realize they've heard all this stuff before. I've talked about it all before. But you all need to hear it, because the more people that hear it, the more truth gets out. The more truth gets out, the more people know. The more people know, knowledge is power. That's the true thing. If you don't know what the Constitution is, then you don't know it's your duty to enforce the Constitution. Well, just taught somebody something right there, because a lot of people don't know it is our duty as individuals of the states to enforce the Constitution on the government. That is our laws in the government. Any law without force has no teeth. It's like making a law about bank robbery, but then not arresting bank robbers. What do you think they're going to do? Right? They're not going to follow the law. They're going to keep robbing. They're going to rob more banks. So I actually wrote some stuff down today. This is like the second time I've done that. I haven't made videos. I can't really see it. Okay. Second Amendment rights. That's where we're going to start. People say this all the time. My Second Amendment rights. You don't have Second Amendment rights. You have natural rights. The Second Amendment is just a restriction on government. That is your laws against government saying you cannot infringe on my right to keep and bear arms. So quit saying that, because what happens is over a long enough period of time of saying my Second Amendment rights, the next generation picks that up, or new gun owners pick that up, and they start saying that. And eventually when they do away with the Second Amendment, they're going to repeal it. Maybe not today, maybe not in our lifetime, but it's going to happen. And they're going to think when it's repealed, well, the Second Amendment's gone, so I don't have my rights anymore. So we have to stop using that term. You have natural rights. God granted you your rights. Nature granted you your rights. I don't care what you say. You have rights. The Second Amendment doesn't grant you anything. Period. It's your restriction on government. You need to start enforcing that. I can't read my damn handwriting. Oh, right analogy. Sorry about the light. I'm poor. I don't have studio lights. My studio is my garage. Just also, all these stickers back here are companies that we love and trust, starting with HM Defense and Special Operations Equipment, SOE, out of Camden, Tennessee. Rights. A lot of people are going to disagree with this, and if you think long and hard about it, you can't disagree with it, because if you disagree with it, you're saying you only have privileges. You already know, if you watched the other video, my son was murdered last year. The man that's sitting in jail, and this is the analogy I give, everybody that's watched my videos has heard it. The man that's sitting in jail that killed my son, he is in jail right now, but like behind bars eating shitty ass Airmark food. In jail, he still has the right to keep and bear arms. Nothing can take his right away. In the Fifth Amendment, in the Bill of Rights, we allow the prosecution, I don't want to say government, we allow the prosecution of criminals through the Fifth Amendment. No person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. That clause, or that sentence, is what allows criminals to be prosecuted. Notice the term rights isn't used. You know why it's not used? Because if government had the authority to take your rights, they wouldn't be rights. No, the man that's sitting in a jail that killed my son has had his liberty restricted, and he can't utilize his property. That's the truth. The right still remains. You can never take his right. You can't strip it. You can't restrict it. He couldn't give it away if he wanted to. Now, if he's ever released from jail for whatever reason, who's going to need the right to keep and bear arms more? He will. But if he's ever released from jail, he will then be free to utilize. He'll be free to take the liberty to utilize his property to exercise his right to keep and bear arms. We get words mean something. We use these words and they get all convoluted and mixed up and shit, and then people just don't even know what's going on. Most people say, well, he don't have the right to keep and bear arms. He's in jail. Really? He lost that right. Really? I guess he lost the right to practice what religion he wanted to then, correct? Freedom of speech, he lost that too. Can't send letters home to mom and pop. Can't make a phone call. I guess we can just quarter troops in his home outside the jail. Or better yet, the police can just go search his home outside the jail without a warrant. Because he's in jail, you know, he lost his rights, right? No, he didn't. He doesn't have a right to an attorney. You don't have a right to the trial by jury of his peers. Sorry about the noise, guys. I'm redneck. The ideal that because somebody goes to jail, they lose their rights is what you have been told. You've been indoctrinated to believe that. And the end game is tyranny. The end game is tyrannical government. Benjamin Franklin said that all governments throughout history, all without exception, have become tyrannical within a 200-year time period. And look where we're at. We're overdue. We've been tyrannical for far longer than anybody realizes, and I'll get to that in a second. So, again, the man that killed my son that is sitting in jail right now, as I'm making this video, still has the right to keep and bear arms. Nothing can take that. Not government, not you. Jesus can take it if he kills him. That's it. That's it. That's all Jesus. Or nature, whatever you want to call it. Whatever you want to say. And if you disagree with me on that, then you are saying that you only have privileges and government can just create a law and take your rights away, which would make them privileges, right? Right. All right. Next is, sorry about the light, I'm going to try to keep it. Federal government. So we have local governments, we have state governments, we have federal governments. People don't understand how our government was designed to operate, mainly the federal government. The people, us, we make up the states. You think of it like Ohio and you think of a bordered state. No. The state is the people. We're not talking about the political state. We're talking about the actual state. The people are the state. When it comes to government, we have a legislature to create, laws for the state of Ohio. Now, the federal government has took it upon itself, and it did in 1860 with the War of Northern Aggression. People want to say that Lincoln, sorry about that, people want to say that Lincoln freed slaves, and he didn't. He didn't free one slave. He made us all slaves. And he made us all slaves because that set the precedence for the federal government to be able to create national sweeping laws, which it was never designed to do. If you don't believe me, go read Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. Once you read that, read the 10th Amendment. Then go back and read all of Article 1, Section 8. Article 1, Section 8 is the 18 specific powers we granted government. 18 specific powers. We granted them. Then go read the 10th Amendment again. And you'll see the federal government has no jurisdiction to create national sweeping laws. If they did, we'd be called the federal state of America from the beginning. There'd be no reason for state governments, no reason for states, no reason for any of that. We'd just be one huge ass state. But they didn't do that because when you have one state with a political atmosphere, it's far easier to control the people. That's why our states are broken up into the way they are. The best way to think about it, in reality, is that we have 50 separate countries. Hey, I'm making a video. We have 50 separate countries, and then we are all in a union together. So there's no requirement for us to be in that union. We're not required to be in the union. Even though the states that join the union, they can opt out anytime they want. The Anti-Federalists, if you haven't read the Anti-Federalist papers, go read it. They didn't want to adopt the Constitution because they feared the Constitution gave the federal government far too much power in the form it was in. That's why you have the Bill of Rights. The Anti-Federalists, what they feared more than anything was a federal government that would control the nation. And look what we have going on right now. So Congress does not, when people say, call your congressman, don't call your congressman. Calling your congressman is legitimizing an illegitimate act. Your congressman in D.C. don't have the authority to create laws that rule over you in frickin' Idaho. The NFA If you took the fact that NFA was about firearms away from it, and you said it was about Allen wrenches, your Allen wrenches have to be so long. There are going to be so many Allen wrenches on a I don't know how you call it thing. It would be an unconstitutional law because the federal government doesn't have the authority to create national sweeping laws, not even Congress. The federal government has jurisdiction over lands that have been legally purchased from the many states and the 10 miles squared we now call D.C. That is it. They don't own Ohio. The federal government doesn't own Ohio. The federal government only exists because of the union of the states. It only exists because Ohio, Kentucky, and Michigan, and the other 47 states are in a union. That's it. But since Lincoln did what he did, we now have a tyrannical federal government that wants to rule over us, and that's what it does. Next. Okay, this is the big one, and a lot of people are going to want to agree with it. But it is what it is. Yeah. It's in my wallet on the bed. Damn woman, get out of here, damn woman. Go. I mean, like, you got in the garage. The garage is like the man place, right? No one woman out here all the time. Well, it's cold outside. So where does she smoke? In my garage. What's your excuse? Well, it smells like oil anyway. All right, next. A lot of people are going to have a problem with this. I get it, man. I was like you once. I didn't know. I was lied to. I didn't see it. You're about to see the truth once you think about it. And I can prove I'm right, but you can't prove me wrong. Guarantee that. The police forces. The Redcoats were the policing forces of the day. Why would the founding fathers allow our government to create another standing army, which they said was the most dangerous threat to liberty and individual rights? Why would they do that again? I'm asking because I read the Constitution a bunch of times. Kind of know it. I know it all pretty good. Don't know it like the back of my hand, but I know it pretty good. And nowhere in it did I see federal government, you can create policing agencies. And here's why. You know why they can't? Because we are supposed to self-govern. And self-governance includes policing ourselves. That is why we have an elected sheriff. One elected sheriff in each county or parish. Even his deputy sheriffs hold unconstitutional positions. And he is not even a law enforcement officer. He's supposed to be a peace officer. He's supposed to sit his ass in that office until we come trucking in with some evidence and say, hey, Robbie down the street broke into my house. He stole my stuff. Here's the evidence. And he's supposed to do a little investigation on it. Then we're supposed to, well, I'll skip that because it's something else, whole totally different thing. But anyway, he gets a warrant if Robbie needs to be arrested. He comes and deputizes members of the militia. We go arrest Robbie and we take him to jail, right? And as soon as he's in custody, our deputization is negated. Do you know why that is? That's because you are not free if somebody has authority over you, especially not a government agency or agencies or policing forces. How are you free when government has complete authority over you 24/7, 365 days a year, even when you haven't committed a crime? How are you free? And don't say, well, freedom? If you don't commit a crime, they don't have authority over you. That's kind of bullshit because I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of people that's been killed where cops go, put on their freaking Ramadi gear and like they're going to war and they go kick a door and they kill some dude and it was supposed to be the 4 houses down the block. That's happened a bunch. So they have authority over you 24/7. That's why if somebody calls the law and says, hey, I seen so-and-so flashing a gun. I mean, they flash their lights. They hit their lights behind you when you're speeding. That's a threat of force. They rule through force. Police, law enforcement. What happened is that I won't get into how they got started. You should really educate yourself about how the police forces got started. It's an interesting story. But they are really a gang. Where was I at? Lights, force. They roll through force. Fuck, I don't know. My mind, I done thought about 10 other things. So, I know it's a lot to think about, and I know it's a lot to process, and I know it goes against everything you've been told. But here's what you have to remember. A tyrannical government doesn't just happen overnight. You don't go to bed and wake up and they're, taking your guns away. It's incremental. It happens over time. They do it a little at a time. Number one, because it don't hurt as bad a little at a time. Number two, that time buys them time to indoctrinate you with what they want you to believe. So the police forces are 100% unconstitutional. When I say police forces, I mean all policing forces. So town police, sheriff's office. The sheriff's supposed to be the only person in your county with a badge on. That's it. Even his deputies hold unconstitutional positions. All the federal shit is way unconstitutional. Like, more than I can even tell you. Yeah. Now, I know that everybody's in a fight. A lot of people that were now my subscribers aren't going to be my subscribers anymore once I say this. You should go watch the video, Trump the D. Trump is not a Republican. In 4 years, the socialist Democrat, Trump, Donald J. Trump, pushed the socialist agenda decades ahead of where it would have been if Hillary would have got in. How'd they do that? Polarization. That's how they did it. They made you think they hated each other. And in doing so, they made you hate the person that liked the other team. Government's not one team. It's one animal. It is one animal, and its goal is to rule over you. That's how it's been throughout history. And it may not be intentional. For the most part, it is now. But in the beginning, it may not have totally been intentional. But, power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. So, but what they did was they created a policing force, the government did. Then they created laws making it illegal for you to enforce the Constitution. Right? Because it is our duty to enforce the Constitution on our government. It's our duty as every individual in this country. It's our duty to enforce the Constitution on government. So that's it for today. If you made it through this far, kudos to you. And research it. Research anything I said and see if I'm wrong. If you know somewhere where we said, government, you have authority to take our rights away, show me. I offered $10,000, I think it was $5,000, over a year ago. And nobody's accepted that money yet. I don't have it, but shit, I'd find it. I got some shit I can sell. I had it then. Nobody show me yet. Nobody. Government has no authority over our rights, guys. And it's time that we just be done. We are governed only by consent, meaning that I will let you govern me if you follow these rules. You stay within these restrictions, you can govern me. You step outside of them, you're going to have hell to pay. And I'm not going to let you govern me no more. That's where we're at. But until, one at a time, they're going to take us all down. Like, there's a government bullet somewhere with my name on it. I know that. I've accepted that. I've been waiting for it. I've had a bad feeling for the past few weeks. I'm just waiting for that bullet to come kicking through the door on some, in some cop's AR and to come back in my bedroom and put a bullet in me and then say, well, I thought he was going to kill me while I'm sleeping. So that's what they do. They're state-hired thugs, nothing more. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. We've all been lied to, guys. There's not a good cop. You know why there's not a good cop? Because if there's a department of 50 cops and 5 of them go to arrest the restaurant owner that's just trying to make a living, but government ordered them to shut their business down, if those 5 cops go to arrest that person, where's the good cops out of the other 45? You don't see videos of any good cops. There's a reason why. Because there is none. They're order followers. Oh, that's what I was going to talk about. Real quick, I'm done. What happened is that the Redcoats were the military and the policing forces, right? So what they do, they split those up. So now we have a military, which is unconstitutional. Part of it is. The way it's done is not so much the military itself. They split those duties up. So now the military fights wars and fights invading armies, which wasn't supposed to be how it's supposed to be. This is supposed to protect our forts and shit. But anyway, then they let the policing forces go to the police forces. And if you say that I'm wrong, that the police isn't part of the military, please explain to me why they call themselves officers. Yeah. Hope you guys learned something. Leave a comment. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. We're going to get this freedom thing going. We're going to spread liberty around like it's freaking water going out of style. Does that make sense? Water going out of style? No. You know what I'm saying. We're going to get it spread around. I'll probably die doing it. That's cool. It's a small price to pay. As long as you can be free, my death means nothing.